everybody, and welcome to Dork Lords. Amber, Matthew, we're here to talk about Game of Thrones Season 6, Episode 10, The Winds of Winter. Boom. First thoughts, I'll just say right off, awesome episode. But give your initial thoughts.
Awesome episode. Finally moved everybody's story along that we're actually going to have something next season. It's not going to be like this season with dragging out stories for 5 episodes. They've finally moved everybody up far enough. And
it was a problem we had kind of addressed earlier in the season where it seemed like a couple of the episodes early in the season didn't go anywhere. They just kind of tread water. Mm-hmm. Like this one propelled our plot forward quite a bit.
And it also answered a question I've had about timelines.
Okay, yeah. Actually, good point. I was going to bring this up. Go for it.
When the Queen of Roses was at Dorne, it was like the same day that Marjorie died.
Elena is completely... She knows what happened.
Yeah.
Varys is there. And then Varys... I mean, we're kind of jumping through this a little bit. But yes, we'll address timelines because I think it is important.
Answered that there's no such thing as timelines.
There is no such thing as timelines. It reminds me of... occasionally I do like improv here in Chicago, and one of the little rules you do in improv is just snip out the travel time. So if you say something like, "Hey, we've got to get to Paris," "Hi, we're in Paris." Like nobody wants to watch you traveling, right? So that's kind of just one of the things. Like, hey, get to the fun part. So that's what they've done on Game of Thrones because they're like
the last episode of this season. They finally
Varys
did it.
Varys shows up in Dorne, which I predicted, and I was not happy to see Dorne, but whatever, he's there.
Yeah.
But so he's there. Then, last shot of the season, he's on a boat with Daenerys coming out of the east. So I was like, wait, what we do? Wow,
you were just in Dorne.
He can teleport.
They don't have airplanes.
And
not that I've seen.
And we're right. Well, we do have Arya also teleported in order to get to Walder Frey. I assumed that it was because she was on Doctor Who. Maybe she used her TARDIS to get over to Walder Frey, kill him.
I didn't know she was on Doctor Who.
Bake his kids. Yeah, she plays anyway. That's another show.
Another show.
She was in the last season. All right. So there was that time. So the only person that doesn't seem to be able to move, moves the way you would expect, and that travel goes the way you would expect in a medieval setting, is Sam. Because Sam was told in season 5, "Hey, why don't you go to Old Town?" It took him to the last episode of the next season to show up. And interestingly enough, when he shows up, it's actually a very funny scene. One of the little comic relief moments. The people at Old Town, the Citadel, that he's going to, don't know anything. No word is they don't have Snapchat.
No,
because they didn't know.
Nobody updated the Facebook. For
John was had become the
King.
Lord Commander, and they didn't know anything about the old Maester Aemon. So all that. So the people that are supposed to be the knowledge center are the only people that aren't actually clued in to events because everything seems to be happening all at once and everybody else seems to know what's happening.
Yes.
But okay, so episodes 9 and 10 combined. You tell me what you think. But
story.
I feel like that's probably the best 1-2 punch in the series. 9 and 10, you take them together as one thing. Boom! It was it really elevated this whole season. The season was pretty good, but not awesome. I think the Hodor, up until 9 and 10, Hodor was probably the episode that you would look to and go, wow, that was really powerful. And then suddenly 9 and 10 showed up and just took this off the rails. All right, so let's break it down a little bit. We open, big, long section in King's Landing. Mm-hmm. And it's really quiet.
Yes.
But eerily quiet.
It had the same feeling like in Walking Dead episodes whenever they're getting ready to fight. And it was that same...
preparing thing.
Everybody preparing.
Everybody's getting on their outfits.
Yes, and Cersei put on that crazy leather and...
She looked boss.
Chainmail
ready for
type.
Danger.
Yeah. That was... Yeah.
It was effective.
It was.
It was effective. And you see all these people preparing for their day.
I liked not hearing people explaining... anything during those shots.
Very little dialogue.
Yeah.
Just a couple little blah, blah, blah. But mostly mostly. So it was a different take for them, and it was really, really well done, well filmed. We get Loris comes in, has his trial, says all the right things. Mm-hmm. I don't know if he meant them. Maybe I couldn't tell if he was really contrite or if he was just like, if I get a deal if I say this, fine. But he says all the right things, and it looks, Marjorie's like, don't carve a star on his head, but she's like, okay, great, I get my brother back, awesome. Meanwhile, as we predicted last week, bad things are afoot underneath the city, which, by the way, no EPA in King's Landing.
No.
Like, they had barrels of hazardous waste just I think there's even more of them, but they're just laying around. They're leaking. Mm-hmm. They're just completely could blow up the city for the last few decades. And anything could have set off this thing. Yeah,
with the candle slowly burning out and starting the fire. Dude could have tried a little harder to put that out.
I agree. That was
I didn't like that.
So what happens is that the little sparrow stabs Lancel, who we kind of don't really like him anyway. He's kind of a jerk.
Oh, he's a total jerk.
Yeah. But so he gets stabbed, but he's still alive.
He killed King Robert.
And he gets to crawl and see the wildfire before it engulfs him. But that was kind of a loose end. Like whoever was told the sparrow, kill that guy. Maybe, or I don't know if there were sparrows or birds or whatever. The little kids.
The little birds.
Yeah, little birds. Maybe not the high sparrow. Somebody else. Anyway, so but yeah, he theoretically, if he was slightly less physically damaged, he could have
he saw
put out the candles burning,
and he just
tiptoed away.
Yeah, and he took a pause before he got all the way to the candle when he could have just reached his arm out a little bit. And
it's kind of like I know we're referencing other shows again, but it's like in Lord of the Rings when Gandalf does his "Fly, you fools!" and he falls off the bridge of Khazad-dûm. Like in the movie version, there's actually this pause where people could have saved him. He's sitting there like, So yeah, it was the same idea. Lance was like, I could put these out.
Oh, I'm so tired.
You know what? I'm gonna take a nap here. So huge explosion obviously kills. I think I counted 10 named characters. Now, just because you're named doesn't mean you're the most important character in a story. But anytime your character gets a name in a story,
Sparrow, Marjorie, her brother, the Lannister cousin.
Okay, so right. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I lost count there for a second. So I'm actually just for the whole episode. I think there's. I can
not
name
just
10,
in the explosion.
but most of them are in the explosion.
Okay.
So you got High Sparrow, Lancel, Loris, Marjorie. That was kind of the biggest shock, I suppose. Or like, wow, she got. It wasn't a shock, but like she died. Oh man. Uncle Kevin.
That's true.
Which is interesting that Cersei killed her own kin. That was
he was kind of.
I guess Lancel was too. But.
Shut up, little woman.
Yeah, I know. She didn't like him, but
no, he was definitely.
So Pycelle, who's kind of been the comic relief, but he's been there for every season. He shows up and like the doddering old fool,
the Mad King.
Yeah.
I didn't think that old goat could be killed.
But he
Let's just call him a goat.
He was a goat. He's gone, and then of course you got Walder Frey and his two sons, and I'm forgetting one other person.
I thought you were talking about just at King's Landing.
But just to say, in this episode,
lots of
many named characters off the board, take their pieces off the Game of Thrones. Mm-hmm. So Marjorie sees it coming, tries to get out of the place,
and
fails. And everyone goes kaboom.
That was probably one of the more quicker
Tommen,
death
of course.
scenes.
Tommen's the 10th.
Yeah, we haven't gotten to him yet because I have so many opinions on that.
Yeah.
Tommen.
Oh, okay, great. Let's jump to that then. All right. So, one little interesting note: we do confirm because the way we see the wildfire spread under the city and blow everything up, we know that Bran's visions back from the Hodor episode. Some of them are of the future.
Yeah.
So he's actually able to see the future as well as the past.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, all right. So Tommen. We predicted that Tommen would die as a result of the explosion. I don't think we predicted that he would commit suicide. But
that was kick-ass.
It was a great scene.
Great. Just how, again, the silence, him not saying anything.
Just shows the window. You see the smoke in the city. He leaves the picture.
Takes off his crown.
And they're just beat. You're just looking at a window. And then he
He
steps
steps
forward.
up and just falls forward. It wasn't a running thing.
Nope.
It was a very casual, no spoken words. Steps up on the ledge.
Casual
and
was right.
falls.
Yeah, he wasn't like, oh God, I'm distraught.
No,
Oh my God. He was just
it
like,
was like he knew that there was no winning, that his mother was insane, and he is never going to get rid of her. And that's why he would have made the best ruler, because he...
except that he just didn't.
he's
He didn't have a
swing.
backbone.
He
As
didn't
his
have
problem.
a backbone.
But he was too
But
young,
he-
right? He's a kid.
Yes.
Yeah.
But he definitely can see that his mother was insane. And
Yeah. And he lost Marjorie. I think he actually genuinely felt affection for Marjorie, and he had contributed in some way. Anyway, so yeah. So he was so distraught that he killed himself. I did note the irony of sorts in the fact that he fell out a window, and we kind of begin when Jamie pushes Bran out a window.
That is true.
So it kind of came back around
Yeah.
to affect the Lannisters a little bit. So I thought, interestingly, Cersei's reaction to Tommen's death.
Like she expected it.
Right. I mean, she knew the prophecy that he was going to die, but still, like the fact that she pretty much directly caused it.
Yeah.
And she attempted to keep him away from. She had the mountain like, you can't go in there. So she obviously didn't want him to die.
Right.
And
she didn't want to kill him.
Right.
But I think
But-
when he did it, she's like,
She's kind of become
She's
full
used
on
to it now.
evil queen mode.
4 children have died. She's used to it.
I got a little scared for a second. This didn't happen, but for a moment there's a scene where she's like, "I want to see the body," and Qyburn's like, "I don't think you want to see the body." And then you know, and then Qyburn says something like, "Well, what would you like done with the body?" And I'm thinking, "Are you gonna animate Tommen?" Like, because he was that's the guy who created Undead Mountain, and so when he says, "What do you want to do with the body?" I'm like, are we about to... Whoa. That would be very weird to see, like, a little undead kid walking around. It's like, I'm the king. They didn't do it. Thank goodness. She said, burn him. I assume that's going to happen. I don't know. Maybe I just spoiled something that comes later. But theoretically, they didn't turn... we don't have zombie
He's
Tommen.
gone because she put herself on the throne.
Right. But, I mean, I don't know. Qyburn, go to your lab, and 2 months later...
No,
But,
I think
yeah,
that she's...
I agree. I agree.
Tommen's done. We're not seeing Tommen
Right.
again.
Tommen's gone.
Lannister children, there's now only... Seriously, I mean, there's no heirs
Right, just
left
the three
on the
siblings.
Lannister throne. None of them are having kids.
Interesting too. They called her Cersei Lannister when she sat on the throne.
Yeah.
They didn't do a Baratheon comment
No,
at all.
I think it's just everyone's accepted it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like-
She's a Lannister. She slept with her brother and made children with him, and I think everybody's just trying to move on.
Yeah, move on. Move on. She just blew up a
Painful
quarter of the city.
acceptance.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
that's fine. So all right, so we'll move away from there for now. We go back to Winterfell, and we see.
That was probably the boringest part of the entire episode.
boring
was
and
Winterfell.
Completely unsatisfying in that I think maybe one of the first shots we see, maybe it's not the first shot, but it's John's talking to Sansa on the parapets. Mm-hmm. And the question we asked last week, John asks, which is basically, hey, why didn't you mention there was an army that we could have saved the day before I almost died and all of my friends died?
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, now we get to hear Sansa's reaction to this. I'm sorry. Like, there was we didn't hear why. Like, wouldn't the natural follow-up question be, what? Why? Why was that again?
I thought she was actually getting a backbone, but instead what she's getting is a nasty attitude.
She was getting a nasty attitude.
Not strong. She's still not. She's still proving that my point that she is not a strong female character. She goes through all this stuff, and she takes pride in. If she found actual enjoyment from Ramsay being eaten by dogs, not satisfaction in that he's gone.
Right, revenge, but
It was like she enjoyed watching him be eaten by dogs. Then she didn't say anything which could have saved Rickon's life about the army, hiding around over at the 7-Eleven.
Right.
I mean, there's so many things. I'm sure there's a 7-Eleven. Where do these people get their slushies from?
Right. You see her with a slushie at one point.
Yes.
But from John's standpoint too, though, I think he would have been angrier I kind of feel like, you know, I endured perhaps the worst day of my life, and all of my, you know, friends and countrymen died because you didn't tell me an incredibly important piece of information. And I mean, he accepts it. He kisses her on the forehead, and they're like, "Let's trust each other now." But man, that didn't.
I don't think because he hasn't
get
seen
resolved.
her like we've seen her, and so I don't think he fully comprehends how messed up. Beep.
Oh right, we can't be on YouTube anymore. Okay.
How messed up she is in everything that she's gone through.
Yeah.
So I think he still looks at her like a little girl and doesn't realize how maniacal
and that she
becoming.
could, and maniacal may be a strong word, but I got the feeling like the scene where he is crowned King of the North, which is a cool scene, and we have Lyanna.
Oh, that little girl.
The girl who's named for his
God.
mom, which the scene before that is the reveal that he's. So it's kind of interesting that Lyanna was in the next scene, but she's stands up for him, and everybody's like King of the North, King of the North. Then we see Sansa sitting next to him. Sansa looks at Littlefinger, and she has this. I mean, I get it. The part of her is like, I don't like Littlefinger, and
But it was the whole conversation that they had,
Right.
about how you need, like, Littlefinger's telling Sansa,
Littlefinger
you have
gets
to,
creepy.
Again, yes, because
Yeah.
that's all he's capable of being. That she has to fight John.
like he's like,
So
hey,
she
I have a
can
vision of myself on the throne, and you're next to me, and that's awesome. And you should be the queen because you have the right name, and John's just
Yeah.
the bastard. And so he's. I mean, let's
He's
face it.
filling her head with nonsense.
And as much as she has said earlier in the season that she doesn't like him and go away, I never want to see you again, she's listened to everything he said. Everything he said. When he mentioned, oh, John's only half brother, it was like, oh, and that's why she doesn't trust him. When he's like, I have Knights of the Vale if you need them, she needed them. So I think she is listening to him, and I think she took that in. I think she took in the notion of, I should be queen.
Yeah. He made her bitter against John.
Yeah, and I think that's going to come. We're doing prediction time here, but next season, that's not going to be one happy family.
No,
that is.
She's gonna be more maniacal.
Two sides.
That's the only word I can use to describe her. And
I don't know if she goes full on Cersei. I don't think she goes full on evil, but
I don't think anybody can go on full on Cersei.
Yeah,
That's just,
especially with only.
she's too young.
Two
Maybe
seasons
give her
left.
like 20 years, and then she might be there. But she's just too easily swayed by the opinion of others. She wants to feel like she's in control of her own life and her own destiny now. And if my prediction about her being pregnant is true, she's going to be looking at that, and she would want to make Winterfell her home for her child.
She was interviewed, I think, and said that she didn't have any knowledge of whether she's pregnant or not. But she's like, I don't think I was pregnant, but. She didn't necessarily know.
It's just that
in the
line
script,
that Ramsay
but
said
right.
was.
I agree. There was something to that. So I think we could see her as kind of the impediment to the North getting solidified in future stuff. But quick parallel too, kind of cool. We see Cersei accepting the crown, and then her brother Jaime is off in the wings going. He time traveled too because he came from River Run all of a sudden and was there.
There's like a bunch of red eye flights flying through the Seven Kingdoms.
So
like it's like a 30-minute trip to get from Dorne to Westeros.
Yeah.
Or,
They took the express.
Yeah.
So he is obviously not pleased with the situation. You can tell on his face. Like he's
saw
like,
her and he knew that meant Tommen was dead.
Tommen was dead. He saw the smoke when he's coming into the city. Like, what the hell did you do?
Yeah.
And plus, he's the guy who decades earlier killed the king to stop the explosions from happening, and then turns around and his sister does exactly, literally the same explosives. So there's a brother sister thing. The sister's on the throne. The brother's not pleased.
My sister husband.
Then you turn around in Winterfell. I know they're not technically brother and sister, but they think they are. In this case, brother's on the throne and sister's not pleased. So I think you're going to have that thing of like the duality of siblings or family members. One's on the throne.
Well, Bran's
one's
outside
like,
of Winterfell now, right? Or is he outside of Castle Black?
I think Bran is still north of the wall.
He is still north of the wall.
Because we had
then
this
he was approaching Castle Black when
Uncle Benjen.
Uncle Benjen left.
Yeah. So
and that cool part, I didn't know that there's spells written into
which
the
by the
wall.
way, that is a definite setup for later.
That is a huge setup.
So Benjen
because they don't really talk about magic
Right.
Like spells and curses and things like that. That's never been a part of the Game of
Good
Thrones
point.
world.
He just slipped it in, like,
He just slips
in the
it
middle
in
of a
the show
very packed episode.
That there are curses and spells to protect you against White Walkers.
Yeah, and so Benjen takes Bran close to the wall, and he's like, "Hey, I can't get any further because there's a bunch of spells that keep the wall up." All right,
Wink, wink.
I'll just leave now. And that's another thing is like Benjen, like, gee, really? You just showed up.
Yeah, seriously,
Like,
we had you for 3 minutes.
he's just there to save people
Hopefully
north of
he'll
the wall.
just be
when
hanging out outside of the wall anytime Bran needs him.
He'll probably have one more show up moment where he'll save the day one more time somewhere north of the wall. But yeah, so what I think what that whole scene was about is somewhere in the next 2 seasons, I guess there's 13 to 15 episodes is what they're going to do. Somewhere in that time, the wall is going to come down because the spells will fail. I think the Night King or something knows how to dispel them. He goes blah, and bad things will happen. So
I want more of the White Walkers.
I do. They weren't in the. It was called Winds of Winter, and there were zero White Walkers. Like,
I love the look of them and just the general scariness
that sense of doom
them. Yes.
about them. Yeah,
it's
agreed.
such a cool part of the show is when the White Walkers are on, and the way they fight and everything is just such a more sophisticated style of fighting that I really like watching the fights with White Walkers.
I assume they're going to up the percentage of time spent on White Walkers is going to, I think, dramatically increase, especially now that we know winter is here.
Winter is here. No
They
more
had
winter
the White
is coming.
Raven come in and deliver the news.
The winter has arrived.
They got it on text before that, probably, because as we know,
I don't know
but
what the snow on the ground for the past 3 seasons meant, but
yeah.
apparently now winter is here.
It was interesting. It was almost a little touching, but it was kind of odd at first. So Sansa and Jon are like, "Oh yeah, and the Raven came, and winter's here," and they smile, and they're like, "Oh, that long winter when everyone dies and the Walkers show up and kill everyone, and there's no sun for the next 20 years." It's here, because it's funny because John's like, Father always promised. Like, yeah, he did, but I don't think he was saying it like that's a vacation coming up. The winter is coming was horrible times are ahead, so let's prepare.
Really bad things.
Now the horrible times have arrived, but they were just like, it's so nostalgic.
I just love Winterfell and winter.
Yay! Our name's in the title. So anyway, so winter has arrived. That was kind of a big moment. We already mentioned Sam gets to the Citadel.
Oh, cool thing. I don't know if you noticed this, and I read an article that pointed this out.
All right.
Cool thing at the Citadel, the opening credits are the chandelier at the Citadel.
Like it's like a big orrery or something up at the top, and it's got all the house sigils on the sides. Yeah. That was pretty cool. I didn't notice it at first, but yeah, pretty neat. Now that obviously not a whole lot happened, except we see Sam like books. Scrolls. Okay, but obviously,
the only time he's ever ignored Gilly when she spoke to him was because there were books.
That's right.
He got book boners.
No women allowed.
We're just gonna call it what it is.
No women allowed in the Citadel.
No women allowed in the Citadel.
What a
very lonely place that is. They don't know anything that's going on outside of it.
Interestingly, no one else was in the library.
Nobody else is there.
No one uses it. So he's standing there in this giant tower of books with no one else.
What did they do in that place? I would imagine, I expected to see 100 Meisters sitting around at long tables.
Some guy with chains, and he's like
50-foot long scrolls laid out before them. Right. But no, there's one angry librarian waiting to greet everybody, and it's just Sam.
Here's a prediction, too. Much like, I think it's kind of doing the Library of Alexandria kind of idea, which got destroyed. That place is going to get destroyed. I think before the end of the series, that tower is going to come down in some way. And they'll be like, all the knowledge! And so the only knowledge will be left with Sam. But so Sam right now is taking on, I think, for future episodes, the role of the wheelchair-bound techie guy that you always see in an action movie where it's a heist movie. Jackson, what's the security system? And there's the wheelchair guy. He's like, da-da-da-da-da. Okay, turn left, turn right. I think he's going to be the guy. It's like, Jackson, Tarly, how do we defeat walkers? Hang on. Oh, this scroll says you poke him in the eye. Great, poke him in the eye. So I think he's going to be knowledge guy. I think that's, because it was otherwise It was a very odd, non-huge plot moment in the middle of a ton of huge plot moments, just to have him show up.
But again, it was part of the whole finally getting everybody to where they need to be, and he needs to be there.
But
so
he's totally isolated from other characters at this point,
and how he can. Yeah, because he's not a fighter, and he doesn't. Nobody listens to him when he has any suggestions.
And he has a big part to play.
Collect all this knowledge that he needs, so then people.
Again, this will be like time the traveling around.
Yeah.
I think a very short amount of time, he's going to know a lot.
He's going to know everything by the end of next week.
Yeah, he's just going to download the USB.
Well, they probably got Westeros Kindles or something like that. And he can just download this stuff.
Interestingly, they did know
they have planes that get these people from Dorne to Westeros in 30 minutes. I'm sure they have quick.
They're all technology all the time. Mm-hmm. So interestingly, the White Raven that announced Winter, they said was from the Citadel. They're like, a White Raven came from the Citadel. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to guess perhaps in future seasons we'll see the White Raven is maybe how he communicates. Like it'll be like, oh, it's the White Raven from Sam.
We're going to finally learn
he said the owl.
About how everything operates. I feel like we don't really have much of a backstory of any of these towns and what they've done, and like when the Mad King took over everything. Like I feel like next season is definitely it's now opened up. Sam's going to be learning a lot more. So Sam being at the Citadel is going to give us insight more into the Mad King,
some
into
backstories,
his fight for the Seven Kingdoms and what he did. Maybe even more about Baratheon when he fought and took the Seven Kingdoms.
We still have Gendry out there somewhere, who's a Baratheon.
That little boy needs to show
he was paddling a boat
back up at home already.
Somewhere he's going to do something.
How is it taking so long? He's been paddling for years.
He's got huge arms. Huge arms.
That's what throws me with the show in the timeline.
Yeah, some people takes forever. Other people
don't make sense.
So we did see the rest of the vision. Bran has the vision. Does touches the tree, and he goes back and
I wouldn't touch a tree crying blood.
I know a blood crying tree, but he touched it. So it gave him the vision. So he sees the end of the thing,
and he acknowledges that he's now the Three-Eye Raven.
He did.
Yeah,
he did. So he saw what everybody knew he was going to see. The little baby John. Interesting though, no one else knows still. So we didn't get some kind of like, John now realizes he's John, no one else knows at this point. So they didn't establish that. Also, actually, the show didn't definitively say he's a Targaryen.
No, but it was Targaryen men who were outside.
Yeah, I mean, it makes total sense, and he is. He is a Targaryen, but they didn't say it.
The first thing she said to Ned, we couldn't hear. And then the second thing she said,
like, Robert will kill him if something promised me.
And so,
so we know that if Robert would kill the baby, he probably wouldn't kill the baby. It was his baby, so it's got to be someone else's. Who else's baby? Who else would have a bunch of guards with dragon armor? It'd probably be Targaryen. So maybe they did in their own way spell it out. It's just I was kind of waiting for like. And he's okay, got it.
You need verbal confirmation.
Yeah, verbal confirmation.
A DNA test, if you will, Westeros style.
So John doesn't know yet. I still think maybe that crypt idea could happen next season, where he goes into the crypts with Rickon, or maybe he sees his mom's crypt, and there's some reference to somehow him being a kid. I don't know how that works, but
I think it's just going to be as simple as Bran showing up, being like, "Hey, we're not bros, we're cousins." And then they high five each other.
And then John's like, "You're crazy, and I need to put you down before you kill other people."
You got this from a tree, Bran? From a tree? Really? I'm supposed to believe you know my parentage?
Go eat more Bran because you need. I don't know. Okay,
there's not enough Bran in your diet.
That's
Bran.
right.
That's what we're going for.
We did also interesting scene, and actually very well acted, I thought, was Davos and John and Melisandre. So Davos is like, tell him, basically saying, "Hey, Melisandre, you killed a kid for nothing. You're a horrible person and deserve to die."
She made a mistake.
And she was like, "I was wrong."
I wish that she would have died. I get it. I know it. I know why.
I predicted he would banish her and not kill her, and that's what he did. So he's like,
she's just going to show up, find somebody else.
She's going to find somebody else.
And she's going to bring them a ton of bad luck.
She might hook up with the Thoros/Sandor group, maybe. Other red priests. I don't know.
But she's going somewhere to cause more havoc.
So John didn't kill her, mainly because I guess she brought him back. She felt like, maybe, I owe you a little bit of a debt. I'm not going to kill you off. Ride south. If I see you again, bad things will happen. So go away. So she goes away. Arya, we talked about already, but she spent the time baking the sons in a pie, which I guess she didn't do this, but I guess that's from the books in some way, that there was the Frey pies are a thing. But just the fact that she took that time.
They cook their enemies and serve them to. They kill their enemies and serve them to other enemies.
Okay, well there you go. So Walter, I think, even ate a little bit of it.
Yeah.
So he ate one of his sons.
Part of his son.
So I'm just imagining how much effort that took.
To cook, so she's a little girl.
It reminds me of, again, I'm talking about another show, but Batman v Superman. Lex Luthor blows up the Capitol or whatever, the Senate House or whatever. But before he does that, he actually has a mason jar of pee that he puts a little sticker on, and it's a reference back to a comment made like an hour earlier in the movie. But I'm thinking to myself, blowing the place up wasn't enough. Like you had to put a mason jar of pee. Same thing with Daria. It's like killing them wasn't enough. You had to go in, take the chance you might get discovered, hacking these people up, putting them in a pie.
Where does she even do that?
Right. What kitchen?
How is she in that kitchen and nobody's
there? Right. Or did she kill everyone in the kitchen?
Into a pie.
But she did it. She found a way to bake a pie. Anyway, so she gets revenge, marks somebody off her list. She's now free.
I'm glad she's back to the list.
A theory I have too is she saw Jamie. We see her frown, or her face, whatever, her fake persona frown at Jamie, and Jamie kind of takes note of that. So she saw Jamie at this party, the celebration for taking over the Blackfish Castle. Then we see Jamie go to King's Landing. I think she probably follows him. I think that's as she's trying
she's
to.
Not going on her
because I think he's on her list. I'm not saying she's going to kill Jamie necessarily, but
Cersei's
definitely on the list. But I
don't think Jamie ever made it onto her list because he technically didn't do anything to anybody in her family.
But he's a Lannister.
He's a Lannister, but her list seems to be comprised of people who've actually caused.
That's a good question.
Harm.
Comment if you wish. Is Jamie on her list? I can't remember if he's on her list or not. But I thought perhaps if he was, that she would follow him.
Cersei the Hound, Walder Frey. I don't remember her ever saying Jamie because her list seems to be comprised of people who orchestrated the death of her mom and her brother, or her dog, or.
But if she, Red Wedding, Lannisters, it could be. But I just thought maybe that's the tie-in for I'm going to get you, and so she's now followed.
Wouldn't it be great if Arya killed Cersei?
That could easily happen.
Wouldn't that be the most satisfying death you'd ever see?
I think it's Jamie, though. I think Jamie's going to kill Cersei.
So every episode I go back and forth about who's going to die first, Jamie or Cersei.
It's one of those two people.
Yeah.
Arya or Jamie is going to kill Cersei off.
Yeah.
It's a matter of how and when. Who gets to her first?
I think we eliminated that. Lady Stoneheart's not making an appearance.
Yeah,
That's the whole
I think
story.
they just snipped that out.
In the books, Brienne is dead.
Right. Or she was about to be killed.
She was about to be killed, and she chose to go and kill Jamie instead. But that's where we leave off with her.
Yeah.
It's not even an
But Lady Stoneheart had captured her, basically.
Lady Stoneheart had captured her. So Brienne is just long gone. And she's not with Sansa.
Right. That's a big book variance, for sure.
Huge book variance.
And because of Lady Stoneheart, and without Lady Stoneheart.
Yeah, and the Lady Stoneheart storyline, I think, would have been great because she would have been the orchestrator of all of this revenge.
As it is, it's kind of like Arya will do that stuff, just kind of taking over.
I think that's probably why they took Lady Stoneheart out, was because if somebody died, it's Lady Stoneheart's doing.
Yeah.
Whereas now we're guessing who's going to kill
Lady Stoneheart
Cersei.
was the zombified Catelyn Stark.
Yes.
After the Red Wedding, they brought her back, and she's like,
The head dude from the Men with No Banner gives her
Thoros,
his power, so she can be brought back, and he essentially dies. He's done.
Gotcha. He gave her his life.
Yeah, he gave her his power from the fire gods or whatever. So I think Lady Stoneheart.
Yeah, I think we're done with the speculation she'd come back. So we're just about wrapped up. We do have we go to Daenerys. She says goodbye to Dario. Mm-hmm. It's like, you know what? I'm not going to make the mistake that Robb Stark made. Because Robb Stark precipitated the Red Wedding, was basically, I'm going to choose love. Yeah. Which, we all would like to choose love, but we can't. So she doesn't.
Some of us like to choose power.
Power. Power.
I'm with Danny on this one. Always choose the power.
Always choose power? All right, so be it. So she does. And Dario's like, okay. Like, he kind of just kind of like, whatever, great. So,
don't leave me, Danny. Don't leave me.
Right. Then she has a conversation with Tyrion, in which she makes Tyrion her hand. So she's like, I make you hand of the queen.
That was so
That was pretty cool.
moving.
Yeah, and he's like he's moved.
Legit. The hand of the queen, by the way, not hand of the king. She's a queen.
Exactly.
Hand of the queen.
Which is cool.
And he's half man, and she's a woman, and it's just such a beautiful.
It was good, and he was. You could tell he was touched.
Yes,
You know?
and she brings out the pin. She's like, I think I had it made right. Like, I love those moments of when you see how innocent she really is.
Right.
That she doesn't know so many like basic things. I love those moments with her.
So she is. What's great is too that she is choosing to have Tyrion be her advisor, and as I think we, the audience, know that's a good idea.
Oh, it's the best idea.
So then we see her on the ships. And there's dragons flying overhead, and they're sailing to invade.
Oh, and I'm so glad she wasn't driving. I'm like, oh, the last scene's going to be her riding on a dragon.
They're like, yeah, we don't have the budget. Let's just put her on the ship again.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I like all of them being on a ship together because it's like
With Varys, who somehow teleported.
He took the tube. He got there that night.
Real quick thing on Dorne, real fast. I did enjoy the fact that Olenna systematically insulted all the daughters. That was because she kind of said what we were saying. Like, we don't like you, we don't like you, we don't like you. So thank you, Olenna, for that. So we end with they're on their way. And will there be a naval battle? Will they hit Euron's forces before they get there? I don't know. I'm not sure. Are they going for Dorne? Are they going to go for Dorne and meet up with the Tyrells and then show up? Or are they going to go straight to King's Landing?
No, I think they're heading to Dorne, but hopefully when we come back, they'll have already been to Dorne.
Yeah, we don't have to
don't want
travel
4 episodes of them
travel
going to
time.
Dorne.
Snip the travel out.
I don't know if
We're
any
in favor
of
of
the
snipping.
producers or writers are listening to me right now. We do not want 4 episodes of them traveling to
Well, we've been
Dorne
at sea for 4 weeks.
and then having the awkward conversations with the Sand Sisters. I want the Sand Sisters locked up in the bottom of a ship somewhere where they can't get to people because apparently they have power with their mouths and their words and other things. Please, no 4 episodes.
So it's on. The only thing we didn't see were Roy the White Walkers. That was about the only thing we're like, oh, okay, that's fine. So they're still out there somewhere. Yeah. They're still traveling.
Yeah.
They're still doing their traveling. So that was it. Episode 10. Season 6, we got to wait now till next spring.
Yeah, see you in April.
But we may do like a little, we'll do some predictions or something as we get closer to Season 7. But thank you so much for Dork Lords. Amber, thank you so much. We appreciate it. And goodbye, everybody. She kind of looks over at Littlefinger.
Hey, what's up?
Hey,
Howdy.
I'm going to be on YouTube.
Oh, all right, good. Come on in. Ron is going to be on YouTube.
I don't know anything about Game of Thrones.
That's awesome. Perfect. You don't have to know anything about Game of Thrones? All right. Ron is our Game of Thrones expert, as it turns out, in that he knows nothing about Game of Thrones. So, Ron, what do you think? Who do you think is going to win the Game of Thrones?
I know it's a TV show. All I know is from South Park. The pizzas are coming.
The pizzas are coming. Perfect.
The dragons are coming.
Yeah,
And on that note-
spoiler alert.
The dragons are coming. That's all I know.
All right, good. Thank you, Ron.
You'll just edit
We
that
might
out
just edit
later.
that out.